Liftoff and the clock has started.
This is Timeless Spirituality. Enjoy each and every time. Welcome back, time travelers. This is Timeless Spirituality, the podcast where we view our modern spiritual world through a timeless lens. Today, I'm super excited to have on Liz Roberta to discuss her new book, Living in Tune. But here's an added bonus. Liz is also going to be talking about a past life that she experienced where she was a writer. And let's just say some some not so nice things happened to her writing, and her writing never got the chance to see the light of day. Well, I guess it's all changing now. So I hope you guys enjoy episode number 10, Living in Tune. And if you're interested in booking a regression to discover who, when, and where you have been throughout time, you can reach me on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist or my website, thepastliferegressionist.com. Liz! Welcome to Timeless Spirituality! Hey, Liz.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
I am so happy to have you on. Yeah, my flow was a little off there. But yay! Congratulations on the book release. Today's the day.
11/1/22. Crazy.
Was that a coincidence?
Yeah, nothing to do with me.
Wait, really?
Seriously.
Huh. Well, how about that?
Yeah, I don't have any say over... That was just the date that I was told it was going to come out, so...
Universe works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, I am with a spiritual publisher, so I don't know if they maybe decided it for me.
Yeah. I mean, but still, with that one, they put years on that day when I'm sure they have other books to release as well. Unless they were just front-landing all of them on that day. But, well, yours is the perfect day. Or perfect book for that day. Yay.
It is. Yay.
Yay. All right. Before we talk about who Liz is, my first question for you, what is your favorite song that has to do with time?
So I really struggled with this because I could think of songs about time, like the Beatles' Yesterday, or If I Could Turn Back Time, or Time Warp. I was like, none of them are actually my favorite. But there's this artist I love called FKA Twigs, who I got really into when I was doing my master's years and years ago, and she does kind of ambient electronica. She's currently going out with the lead singer of 1975, Matty Healy, and it's called In Time, and that's my favourite song about time.
Thank you for sharing. I'm going to have to check that one out.
It's good. She's kind of experimental, so it's not for everyone, but I really love her.
Interesting that she's dating someone that's in the band 1975.
Yes. I didn't even think of that.
Coincidence?
Yeah, why did I even mention it? It's obviously for a reason.
So, who is Liz?
Who is Liz? Do you know what's funny? When I was younger, I was always called Elizabeth. Then I went to university and I was called Lizzie. Then when I got to my late 20s, I started calling myself Liz. So when you ask me who's Liz, it really is talking about the Liz that started all of this when I was like 27, 28, something like that. So when you ask me who's Liz, it really is talking about the Liz now. Whereas if you'd said, who's Elizabeth, I'd revert back to me when I was like 10 years old. So it's great having a name that you can change so much, because it really kind of keeps me in the cycle of life that I'm in, and almost like changes with my identity. So do you want the internal description or the external description, or both?
Let's go both.
Okay. So externally, I'm an award-winning spiritual coach. I'm a Hay House author. All about the spiritual things. I love tarot. I am a Taurus like you, or that totally changes changes with Vedic astrology, and then I've become a Virgo moon, which is my main sign. I resonate so much with that. And internally, I am very intuitive, very in tune, which I know we're going to talk about more today with my book. And I'm really just here to awaken the world. Like, that really is what my mission is. I love giving messages. I love helping people along their spiritual journey. I love helping people to see things in different ways. And yeah, that's really what I'm here for.
I'm really excited right now because I'm going to get to ask you a question that I'm sure no other interviewer has asked you in the promotion of your book. Can you talk about your past life experience, the one you had with me about a year ago, the one that had to do with writing?
Yeah, so I've had 2 past life regressions with you. Both were very powerful. And the interesting thing was the second one. Sorry, it's like the end of the day here and I'm just about to break for Christmas as we're recording this. So I'm like running down. I've also been doing podcast interviews like every day about the book. But yeah, I've had 2 past life regressions with you. And the interesting thing was the second one was so much more multidimensional. So it's like the first time we covered loads of Earth lives, and the second time we kind of moved into other dimensions. So just for anyone listening who's maybe had one, I would definitely recommend doing it again because you just explore so much more. But the first time we did it, I went into multiple past lives in the human realm. And there were actually multiple ones where I was writing. But the one that you're talking about was in Victorian times in England. And I was trying to write, but the Victorian times were so tough. Like, I still remember that feeling when we went into it and it felt restrictive. I felt so oppressed, even though I was actually a wealthy woman. So I was this woman in this big manor house and I was educated because of the class that I was in. But even being in one of the upper classes, you were still so restricted because you had arranged marriages, so you couldn't choose who you were going to marry. You weren't even allowed to talk to or mix with people of other classes. So the people that I connected to most were the staff, but I'd get kind of told off if I ever spoke to them. So it was a tough lifetime. Wouldn't recommend going back to the Victorian times. Did not enjoy it. And I also had a husband that I couldn't stand because it was an arranged marriage. And I was writing, on paper, and I saw us having this big argument, and he snatched the paper out of my hand and threw it into the fire. And because of the time that it was, women didn't get published, or they would publish under men's names. And I always think about my great-grandmother. So my grandfather's mother, who, of course I never met, she actually wrote a book of poetry, and I have it. But she published under her brother's name, which I just think is so sad because of the time that it was earlier in, I suppose it was kind of early 1900s. I can't exactly remember the year, but it must have been a while ago because she had to publish under her brother's name. And I just think that's so sad, but it gives you an idea of what it was like in the not too distant kind of past. Like, it's really not that long ago, but as a woman it was very hard to get your work out there and published. So of course I had this kind of karmic wound and trauma around having this ability of being a messenger and having this message but not being able to share it because of the fact that I was a woman, and that was it. So we obviously cleared that, we released it in the session, and then with that I've also had this issue with a house that I bought. So the first house that my husband and I bought when we were 26 years old was this house which was within a Victorian factory. And I had to show Daniel a picture of this because it's kind of hard to explain. But it's this old Victorian shoe factory, and we basically bought a strip of it. So it's like a Victorian townhouse, essentially. We had the worst time ever trying to sell it. Like, we had 3 sales fall through. It wasn't built to plan, like just the most horrendous time imaginable. Like, it turned into like a house from hell type situation. And I had so many psychic readings where I was asking everyone, what is with this house? Like, I feel like it's cursed. And then that also came up in our second regression because I think I wrote it on the form that I wanted to find out about it. And what I found out in the session was that I had owned that factory in that Victorian time, or like my family had owned the factory. Someone there had died on the job, and there was a spirit there who was basically pissed off at me getting in the way and just wanting to be acknowledged. And in the session, I was able to meet them and apologize, even though, it was nothing personal, the reason why he died, but he just wanted that acknowledgement. And then ever since then, we've actually been able to remortgage, which is another thing we haven't been able to do. So for the last few years, we've been trying to change the mortgage. No one could do it for us for various different reasons. And then since then, we've actually been able to start the process and find a lender who will do it. So that was tied to that lifetime as well. And yeah, now I'm obviously writing, and there was another piece to this story as well. Sorry, this is a long-winded story, but it just ties together so many pieces of my life, and they all came through from past life regressions that I've done, and they're all related to this Victorian lifetime. And the final piece of it is that I've always felt like, why am I in England? Like, I don't feel like I'm in the right place. And I remember being a teenager and feeling this way. And as I'm approaching my Saturn return, I am putting everything into storage, getting on a plane, leaving the country. As I see it and as I plan, I don't think I'll ever live here again, but we'll see what happens. Never say never. But I'm leaving the country, putting all of my stuff into storage. And this is just after my book comes out, and then also my Saturn returns. So I had the massive realization that the reason I've been stuck in England for these 30 years was just so that book could come out and actually be published to close that karmic cycle. And then as soon as the book comes out on the 11th of January, I'm getting on a plane on the 30th, and then my Saturn return happens and I start a whole new cycle. So it just all ties together, and you just are able to see these things when you have a past life regression, which I think is amazing.
And for everyone listening, if you want to hear more about the particular life that Liz is referring to, where her writing was thrown into the fire by that horrible man, just go ahead and check out episode 4, Revelations of the Quarter Life Funk, the one that was done with Rachel Alice, because you see that life from a completely different point of view. So it's really cool how it all ties together. And I'm going to ask you to talk about your book, but in a different way than you have in the other recordings that you've done so far. I'm going to ask you to do it for that other version of you, for that part of you that you were as that woman who just wanted to get her writing out there to the world, but it was destroyed. And now you have the opportunity to put it out there to the world for her. So as we talk about your book, is that okay?
Yeah, when you started saying that, I thought you were going to be like, I want you to talk about it in a Scottish accent or like something. I didn't know what was going to come out.
I think it's so cool to see how your eyes light up when you're talking about the book and when you're posting about it on Instagram, because for me, I remember being there for it when you had that session, and just how my heart broke for you, for that woman. And then to see you now as a published author, it brings me so much joy. And I think it probably brings her a lot of joy as well. So what do you say? Want to speak on her behalf today?
Yeah, definitely. And do you know what? When I kind of zoom out and I look at it from my higher self's perspective, it's such a short period of time. Like, if you're able to zoom out and actually look at all the lifetimes that you've had, I'm like, it's not that bad. Like, it was like yesterday, right? Because it was kind of so close. And I mean, we never really know all the goings on behind it, but I'm sure there were so many lessons that I had to learn. I have such a strong need for freedom, and it's my number one value. I'm sure a lot of that probably comes from that lifetime as well, because I felt so incredibly restricted. I don't like the whole class thing, or like us and them. And I think that, again, is totally different to Victorian times. But to talk about the book from her perspective, wow. Do you know what's coming to me? The book that I would have released then wouldn't have been the right book, because actually I know so much more now than I did then. And part of that is, again, I'm going to bring another past life into it. And this wasn't actually with a regression with you. This is when I had a spiritual coach, we found this lifetime, and it was my last lifetime in Vietnam. And this was the last time that I was here, and it was in like the 70s. And I ended up killing myself in that lifetime because I was in the Vietnam War. I was a 17-year-old boy soldier. And I tried to tell my troop that the plan was a bad idea. We were going to get slaughtered. They didn't listen. They didn't believe me because I was young. I knew I was right. Like intuitively, I knew I was right. And I ended up running away in the middle of the night. They all got killed. I couldn't live with the guilt. And that was such a big lesson, as you can imagine, in trusting your intuition, knowing when you're right. Even when people of authority think that they know better, you always have to trust yourself. And this is basically what living in tune is about. And actually, I think if I had published as the Victorian woman, I don't know if I'd have the right lessons. And I truly believe that everything happens for a reason and that certain doors are closed for a reason. So when I think about it from her perspective, like I'm definitely so happy, but I also see the bigger picture, and I'm also so grateful for, whatever lessons I have to learn. And I have absolute trust and faith always. Like I always have 100% trust and faith, always 100% in the universe that everything will work out in the end. Everything happens for a reason. So in no way am I kind of like sad that I couldn't do it sooner. I just think that was the way it was meant to be, and it was perfect. So actually it's more kind of like her cheering me on and being like, yay, rather than feeling like it's completing something for her, because actually her lifetime was completed and her lesson was learned. And now this is for me today to release this book.
So let's do it. Let's talk about living in tune.
What do you want to know?
Other than everything? What's it about?
Okay, so the first thing to say is it has the most beautiful cover.
It really does. It is so cool.
I am obsessed, and it's just been so much fun because we're putting together influencer boxes and just like choosing the paper and all that. We're just really flying with the like gold sparkles and the marble. It's published by Hay House and it's called Living in Tune, and the subtitle is 21 Questions to Activate Your Intuition and Find Your Life Purpose. So when we were trying to come up with the title, we had a few meetings about it and we just could not land on it. And we kept, meeting, and I would brainstorm for entire weekends. And I would go to a meeting with like 2 sides of A4 of different potential titles. And the way I came up with Living in Tune was I was like, what is the essence of the book? Because we kind of had the subtitle down, like 21 Questions to Activate Your Intuition and Find Your Life Purpose. But what was the title? And it's living in tune, like it's feeling like you're totally in tune with every area of your life. Like every area of your life is right for you. Like it's easy, like it's where you're meant to be, like it flows. Because for so much of my life, I was so out of tune. And I talk about this at the beginning of the book, but in every way, like with my body, with love, with the place that I was living, with the careers that I was doing, and everything just felt so wrong. And I think especially as spiritual people, sensitive people, empaths, I think we're so sensitive to things like that, and we're sensitive to our environment and the people that we're around. So I think more than anyone, we are prone to falling out of tune or feeling out of tune because we can feel those situations so intensely. And so when I was in finance, which no one can ever believe I did, it was horrendous for me. And I ended up with an anxiety disorder. And I looked around and I was like, how are you doing this? I feel like I am squeezing my soul into like a tiny box. And I was ill. I couldn't sleep. I had palpitations. I had insomnia. I was just overheating all the time, headaches every day. And actually, even though I was like physically and mentally ill, it was because I was in the wrong situation. But at that time, I didn't know to trust myself. I didn't know to tune into my feelings. And I just didn't put those things first. So living in tune is all about just putting your feelings and your intuition first and realizing it's not about following the normal way. It's not about doing what anyone else is doing or what anyone else tells you to do. It's just about realizing who you are and what path you are meant to walk in this lifetime in order to feel fulfilled.
Let's talk about the 21 Ps. So each chapter begins with a title that starts with the letter P. Why P?
Because purpose starts with a P. And I can't remember how this even happened. I can't remember if the questions came first or the words. I'm sure the questions came first. So this is all kind of years ago that this happened, so it's hard to remember, but basically each chapter doesn't have a chapter number. They're all a word with a question underneath it. So it gives you this framework of 21 questions, and then all of the chapters have a different name. So it starts with power, then pain, then problem, and they all lead on from each other, so they're not like abstract. And I started with power because I think the most important thing about living in tune is realizing your own power and realizing that you are the one with the power in your own life if you're an adult, and no one else can take that away from you. And I think that's really where the journey begins, when you realize, oh crap, I am powerful. I'm not the victim. I don't have to be here. Why am I here? What am I doing? Who am I giving my power away to? And I think we're always, contending with that in different ways, and constantly having to regain our power, whether that's from, taking time off social media, or all those pesky little subscriptions that we're always paying. And we're like, why am I still paying this? Like, wherever the leaks are, we're always having to take back our own power. So I start there. And why do they start with P? I can't tell you. I just liked it. I just like things organized. I like patterns. And I just thought I'd start with a P for every chapter.
So when I picture a spiritual experience, well, maybe not now, but Daniel of 10 years ago, when he would picture a spiritual experience, it was some monk sitting in a cave meditating, or learning at the feet of the Dalai Lama, or just finding yourself in an in-between space speaking with whatever God may be. And now as Daniel, I recognize that even just brushing your teeth or doing the laundry can be a spiritual experience. So my question for you is, how is living in tune a spiritual experience?
That's a great question, because I was actually asked the other day on a podcast, what does spirituality mean to you? And I'd honestly never really thought about that question. And it's a word that I use so much, but it's always been something so inherent to me. And what I said was realizing your own power over your own life and the impact that you have on the world. So realizing that everything is tied together, realizing the power that you have to influence everything else. And how is living in tune a spiritual experience? I would have to say that when you are most in tune with your life, that is when you get the most access to your psychic gifts, your intuition. You attract manifestations like instantly. You're removing all of the limits, all of the out of tune things that are blocking you getting in the way of, the life that you really want. And I just think it creates this kind of clear channel for you to access God or source or the universe or whatever you call it. Because I know from my out of tune days, I ended up in such a dark place because everything was wrong for me. I didn't know who I was, and I couldn't see anything that was right for me, and nothing felt right. And therefore, it's so hard to believe when you're in that place, and it's so hard to feel the presence of God, and it's so hard to know that you have an intuition. And so I think living in tune is the way to realize your own power, connect with your intuition, and you're just able to see all the magic that's around you because you haven't got anything getting in the way of that. So I think it creates this kind of clear, unhindered channel for you to enjoy the best of life and have the most kind of simple, straightforward, strong connection with the universe, because it feels like all of your prayers are being answered every day.
So you mentioned that you used to be living out of tune. I think that was the way you put it. Awesome, by the way. Well, not living out of tune, but I love the way you put it. So that implies that now you're living in tune. Would that be correct?
In some areas, yeah. Of course, it's a constant journey. I don't know if anyone would ever say everything's 100% perfect. I mean, there's so many different areas of our life. So for me right now, as we're recording this, my health is great. I'm incredibly blessed. I'm with the man of my dreams. I'm doing my absolute soul work, but the country I'm in isn't right for me. And I'm still working on the friendships. I've got loads of great friendships, but there's still some kind of rearranging to be done there. And that's still an area I'm working on. So yeah, definitely in career and love. And my relationship with myself has just come on leaps and bounds. And my spiritual relationship as well. Like I trust the universe. I get guided all the time. So those things are great. But yeah, I'm still working on my friendships and where I am and my kind of living situation.
One of the things I think that's really cool about your book is at the beginning you tell your story, but you're normal. I mean, I it's almost like a derogatory term now, but you're so normal and relatable in the way that you portray yourself, which I know you. So the way you portray yourself was accurate, at least the way that you've portrayed yourself to me. And I feel I know you on a somewhat deeper level. And I think it's so cool how you are everyone who's going to be reading your book, and they're going to be you. So I think it's so cool that you're so relatable. And so if anyone wants to really dive into this work, I think that Living in Tune is the perfect book because it's not intimidating. It's just someone's story who's just like everyone else, going through a spiritual experience and finding a way to live in tune. And I thought that was so cool.
Oh, thank you. I love that you said that because I actually got my story out of the way in the introduction. And actually the vast majority of the book, I'm not talking about myself at all. And it kind of makes me a bit nervous having my story at the beginning because I don't want people to start it and think, oh, this book's just going to be about like this random chick talking about her life. And I really tried to like summarize it quickly in the introduction to be like, yeah, here's me. This is what happened. This is why I'm writing this book. And then the rest of it is really about, you know, the lessons and connecting with your intuition. In every single chapter, there's an intuition exercise. So there's 21 practical intuition exercises that you can physically do. And the rest of the book really isn't about me. So I'm really glad that you said that because that's kind of a little fear I have. I don't want people to think that I've just written this book to talk about myself. It is absolutely the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was done in just a couple pages. I mean, why I also feel that it was so cool is because in most books of this nature, you have people front loading it with all of their credentials. And yeah, you put your credentials in there, which were just your own lived experiences, which I think still is so cool because one of the things that I run into so frequently with my clients, ones who want to journey into a spiritual career, is they're always comparing themselves to other people. Sparkly Moon Goddess 777 has all of this, and Enchanted Mr. 111333 has 17 certifications on his wall. So how can I become a spiritual practitioner? I'm not them. And then you've got Liz's book. Yeah, I worked in finance. I worked in fashion. Yeah, I'm working from the intuition. So why I love that is because everyone has that ability to access their intuition. It's almost like you're just saying, hey, you're all like me. You can do this too. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal right now. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is me speaking from your perspective, at least as I was reading the book. But you can do this too. I'm no better than you. You're no better than me. We all have this inside of ourselves. So as a reader, that's what I thought. And I just thought that was so cool because you were normal. And I just have such respect for that.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you said that because working with the publisher, we always said, or they started using this term, that it was for a crossover audience, meaning that they publish a lot of spiritual books about angels, power animals, starseeds, like all the things that, we love. But the majority of the population, that's going to be way too much for them. So the whole purpose of writing this book was to reach out over to those millennials who are spiritually curious or who are starting to, get into astrology or realize there's something more, but they don't want to fit into any kind of religion and they just want to learn a little bit more. And I'm hoping this is going to be the tripwire for them to really connect with themselves and realize that they've been getting guided and realize they've been getting signs and realize that they have psychic ability and all the things. So yeah, that was really the purpose of it. So I'm so glad that you picked up on that.
Well, you accomplished it. So I thought that was so cool. And just millennials?
And beyond. That's the kind of core audience.
Because this is something that I would feel comfortable giving to someone who's Generation X, a boomer, because it's so grounded.
Aw, thank you.
And with that, my next question is, how does it feel to be a published author?
Amazing. Honestly, I feel like I had a quantum leap just after I announced it. It was insane. And since then, as I said about living in tune, I've just been a magnet. Like I'll think I want something and then in a few hours, it'll arrive somehow. Someone will ask me if I want it. It's the freakiest thing. And I feel like there's so much more to come because the release date hasn't come as we're recording this. So I still feel like there's a little bit of a kind of energy block, like a gate that's going to be opened when it's actually out and people start getting it. So really exciting. And I had to keep it secret for so long. Like I got the book deal October 2020 and I only shared it December 2021. So 14 months I had to keep it under wraps. And I said I was writing a book, but I couldn't share what it was about. I found the cover design, I saw that in March. So that was 9 months that I couldn't show it to anyone, or the title, or that I was with Hay House or anything like that. So it was so hard. So I'm so glad that I'm able to share it now. And I just can't wait for people to read it and it start landing in people's letterboxes and hearing what kind of realizations people have from reading it.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story and for trusting me to be your time traveling guide, journey person, because it's been an absolute honor working with you, just being able to call you a friend. So thank you so much for everything that you've given me. I appreciate you immensely.
Oh, I appreciate you. You're just so fantastic at holding space. Like you're really exceptional at holding that safe space with your confidentiality, with your ability to dig deeper, your ability to allow people to express whatever emotion they need to express. Like you have an incredible skill with that. And I don't know if you were like a therapist in a past life or what, but that is seriously your calling and you're totally doing the work you're meant to be doing.
Maybe I'm living in tune.
You are living in tune.
Thank you for that. It really means a lot to me. And just thank you. And I can't wait to see what the future brings for you because, come on, this is the first of many books. I'm going to be there front row at your speaking tour. Just cheers to the future.
Cheers to that.
So where can everyone find you?
I'm mainly on Instagram. I always say Instagram is my main jam. So at I am Liz Roberta. I also have a website, lizroberta.com. I've got tons of spiritual blogs on there. I've been blogging since 2018. So if you want to find out about psychic skills, intuition, starseeds, pretty much anything, there's a blog for that. And my book is called Living in Tune. You can buy it wherever you buy books. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target. If you're in the UK, Waterstones, WH Smith's, it's pretty much everywhere, which is one of the amazing benefits of working with a traditional publisher is that they're able to get it in so many shops. That was such an exciting thing for me when you go on like big booksellers' websites and it's there. It's crazy. So yeah, grab the book and I'd love to connect on Instagram.
Well, thank you. Wait, you said you're going to be in Target?
Yeah, it's already there online.
Oh, that's going to be cool. I can't wait to go into Target.
We'll have to see. I think they only go into stores when it starts selling really well. So we'll see. But I'm sure it will be in stores at some point. I can't wait to see when that happens.
Oh, yeah. Come on. It'll be in stores.
I hope so. That would be freaking awesome.
Fellow time travelers, your journey through time awaits you. Just want to thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're interested in discovering who, when, and where you have been throughout time, and you'd like to book a session with me, just go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at The Past Life Regressionist, or you can reach me through my website, yourpastliferegressionist.com.